everyone. Welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. My name is David McLeod. I am your Life Mastery coach and author of the delightful and powerful book, A Life to Die For, which I would love for you to grab a copy of. You can get a hold of one on Amazon. That would be great if you could do that. Today, we're embarking on episode number 187, and this is called Work Your Karma. So what exactly is karma anyway? Well, the contemporary view seems to be what goes around comes around, which implies that you reap what you sow. While it sometimes seems like people do indeed get their just desserts, so to speak, or their comeuppance, as my mom would say, it's also true that many people seem to skate by in life, no matter how they show up or what they do. I'm sure you've noticed that too. Of course, some people say that the wheel of karma may take tens, hundreds, or even thousands of years to complete a cycle, so justice may not be served until another lifetime. Well, in this episode of Life Mastery TV, we're going to take a kind of a deep dive, I think, into this concept of karma. We're going to take a new look at it for sure and try to decipher what it really means and how you can make use of it. We're going to consider the ways that we can bring our understanding to bear so that we can make karma a powerful force within our lives. In other words, we're going to learn how to work our karma. So to this end, I've invited a certified yoga therapist, a karma yoga master, and fitness professional to join me and share some of her expertise on the subject. My guest holds a PhD in natural health, a doctorate of naturopathy. I have a heart problem with that one. Let me try that one more time. A doctorate of naturopathy, I hope I said that right, and a master's in aromatherapy, and is the author of several books and has produced several DVDs on anti-aging, natural health and fitness, karma, aromatherapy, yoga, sexual health, spiritual fitness, and alternative healthcare. Wow. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Lynn Anderson to today's presentation. Welcome, Lynn. I'm glad we've been able to get this going, and I'm glad to have you here on Life Mastery TV.
Well, thank you, David, for inviting me. It's exciting to be here with you today and talk about my favorite subject.
That's great. That's quite a lot of things on your bio. The question that popped into my mind is, how do you find time to just, kind of just live, just have fun? Of course, maybe that is your way of having fun. I don't know.
Well, I could take you on a journey way back. I had children way before most people have children. I had my son when I was 19 years old. Right. And I was then a single mother, and I put myself through school supporting two children as I went through school. So where I'm going with this is, in my early 40s, my kids were heading out the door. So I was suddenly, I had a lot of time on my hands. And of course, I had always been studying and working on this stuff continually. So there was always time, and I always loved what I did. It wasn't work for me. It was passion. It was love.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. 19 is young, but it's not super young. I suppose by today's standards, it's maybe young, but yeah. I was a little older than that when I had my kids, and mine were I was a little older than 40 by the time they were ready to go out the door. But I understand what you're talking about. Excuse me. So when you're getting into your 40s and your kids are heading out on their own, really your life is just starting. And yeah, and you were probably saying, well, now what am I going to do? And so I guess somehow you got interested in all this stuff and all this holistic and natural health stuff. Was there something in particular in your life that happened that drew your attention to that? Or like maybe I don't want to say trauma, but some kind of an experience that might have brought your attention to that?
Well, if I take you all the way back to my beginning, I grew up on a small island off the coast of Maine, and we did a lot of folk medicine. kitchen sink surgery, we used to
Oh
call
my
it,
God. Really?
and because there was no doctor on the island, and we had to go over a lot of roads and a causeway to get to the town to get to a doctor. So there was always somebody in town. There was a midwife, and there was somebody who knew how to concoct things, and if you had minor things, they could take care of those things. So I grew up in a very natural, organic environment. I mean, we ate what was on the island. It was a fishing village. We used herbs, and my mother used to make up these tinctures, and they were in the root cellar, and it was for if you got sick. There was elderberry wine in the cupboard. So I kind of grew up with all of that, and it was always something that kind of played in the back of my mind. And then I told you that I went back to school as a single mother, and you can imagine it was a tremendous amount of stress. I didn't have any money. I was working, the two kids, and I'm kind of a type A personality, so I wanted to graduate with a 4.0. I got a 3.8. That was pretty good. Anyway, when I finished school, I was, my undergraduate was in communication. I collapsed. I was so exhausted that I collapsed, and I realized that I had just depleted my energy, and I had to figure out a way to get myself back. And I'm not one for taking medicine. I wanted to do it the natural way. So I began to study nutrition and exercise and herbal medicine and aromatherapy, and all of that just sort of led me down the road to discovering how to, live my life that way. And then I decided, well, this is a good thing to share with everybody. And that's kind of where I went with it all.
Yeah, I mean, what better thing to do than to share what you've learned in your own experience? I mean, yeah. And so the exhaustion that you experienced, what was it that you did that helped you kind of regain your energy level and to pick yourself up again? Was it like I know I've talked about yoga and all the other stuff. Was there anything in particular that you did, or was it a combination of things, or what happened there?
Well, it's a combination of things, but the first thing I did is I gave myself permission to let go and collapse, because it's one of the most important things we can do. I have actually written a book, and I teach a class on burnout. And what happens is people keep going and going and going until there's some kind of a malady, an illness, because the body and the mind can only take so much. So I gave myself permission to just stop. That was the first thing. Beautiful. The second thing, I'm a very active person, and I had studied in my undergraduate a little bit on the exercise. And I like to tell people I took a gut course, it was called, in my undergraduate school. And a gut course is where you go in and it's either pass or fail. Because I was carrying so much of a load that I thought, I don't want to hurt my GPA, I'll do a gut class. And this gut class was anatomy, physiology, kinesiology. It was all about health and fitness. And part of it, I had to exercise. We had to join an exercise routine. And I remember going and, the jogging was the big thing. And then, you had to try out different things. And we came upon this group, and someone said to me, well, that's aerobic dance. That's just a fad. It's not going to be around for very long, but you might want to try it. And I tried it, and I loved it. And then I tried yoga, and I loved it. And I found that by exercising, I could accomplish so much more for my health by doing it every single day. And I can tell you, since I was, 28 years old, I've exercised religiously, consistently, because it is one of the things that I really promote as part of our health. Sure. On top of that is the foundation is nutrition. That is the foundation of health, is nutrition and exercise and rest. Those are we call the three pillars, and those are the three things that I did. That's
beautiful. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned nutrition. I've had a lot of people showing up on this program, wanting to talk about that stuff. So it's becoming more in my consciousness. I think I haven't probably put enough attention into the concept of nutrition for my own health. So it's good for me to be having this, awareness brought to me as well. But I want to get back to the concept of karma. I started off by asking the question, what is karma? And I gave some, descriptions of what I think most people think karma is. Why don't you tell us in your words what you believe karma is, and how does it fit into the whole picture of life?
Well, I like to start out by saying sometimes it's better to say what something is not than what it is. And
Okay.
that is so with karma, because most people think of karma as good and bad. Karma is
Right.
not, has nothing to do with good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Karma is simply cause and effect. It has to do with energy. And it's simply whatever, the effect will always come from the cause. And it's what happens with karma is we as human beings, we superimpose judgment, and that's where the good and bad come in. But karma isn't about judgment, it's simply about energy.
Right.
And if I do something, then there's going to be an effect and it ripples down. So that's really in a nutshell, that's what karma is, cause and effect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That actually resonates with my personal understanding of it and how I try to experience it, and make use of it in my life. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I think you're right. Part of that whole notion, I never occurred to me that it's really about our superimposition of judgment on top of the concept of, certain kinds of energy. We have positive and negative. I mean, there's a judgment right there, you know.
Mhm.
Well, what
Mhm.
does positive energy mean anyway? What does negative energy mean? Those are just our judgments about it. Every form of energy has a purpose. And if we can simply observe it without judgment and notice its purpose, then I think we're talking more about the cause and effect thing that you have been alluding to here.
Yeah, but as human beings, it's very difficult because the first thing we do is we jump to judgment. We
Of course.
jump to judge.
Yeah.
And that comes from our ethics and our morals and our upbringing. But it's karma. If you really practice karma, you're able to step back, and karma is about observing. You
Okay.
observe the movement of energy. If here would be an example. If I steal something, right? And I may or may not get caught. I may get away with it. I may never have to pay for that act of stealing in society's terms.
Mm-hmm.
But what karma teaches is if I steal something, there's an impression, there's an energy. And that impression goes to my body, it goes to my mind, and it goes to my soul. And I'm carrying that impression because whether I got caught or not, I'm still a thief, right?
Right.
I'm still a thief.
Even if nobody knows it, you know it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so according to karma, I carry that impression with me. Now, what I
Right.
do with that impression is how I work through my karma. So if
Right.
I want to remove that impression, then I have to work what we call in karma your punya. And punya is merits. We are here to develop and to create merits and to remove what is called papa, which is the demerits. So we want to remove, that's why we are here, according to karma. That is why we reincarnated here on earth. It is
Mm-hmm.
simply to develop our merits and remove the papa.
Beautiful, thank you. So I just like to address the folks that are here. I see we have Dr. Lynn Anderson 3 times on the list here. So I guess a couple of other people are using your phone number or something like that. Well, anyway, I want to just welcome all you folks that are here. And if you have comments or questions that you'd like to have us pay attention to, please write them in the chat below on the left side of the screen, and we'll address them as soon as we can. So, Lynn, I guess, yeah, everything that you're saying definitely resonates for me. I love this concept, and for me, I've done my own kind of work, not specifically with karma, at least not in the way that you've done it. But one of the things that I have learned is the power of forgiveness. Now, you talked about this impression that you create upon yourself and that you carry around. And really, that is a form of conscience, I think. It's like, I know that I did this thing and I've done a bad thing. There's my judgment about it. And the only way I can remove that impression is to forgive myself to start with, and then to find out a way that I can make an amends of some kind. you know, whether that, it doesn't even have to be with the same person I stole from. It could be something else. I pay it forward in a positive way. And if I try to do that sort of thing in all areas of my life, then I can clean up my own act and just live a far better life. And that impression that you were talking about, it just kind of tends to fade away after a while. And soon I begin to realize myself as a truly loving and beautiful human being. And that's the beauty, I think, of the whole process.
Well, you're working to correct your karma. And think about impressions for a minute. If I steal something, and like you said, good, my conscience is back there going, you know, where am I feeling that? I'm going to feel it in my gut, okay? Then, or I'm going to feel it somewhere, tension in my body. So now there's an impression in my body that is affecting my health, my mind, and then the soul. So yes, what we have to do is we have to consciously be aware of the impressions that we are making, both positive, you know, positive and negative, to use that term, you know, and then seek to enhance the good, we'll use that term loosely, karma, and remove the papa, remove the demerits, remove those things that, you know, are holding us back from evolving. Because the reason we are here, according to karma, is you chose to be here. You make a decision. It's kind of like, we'll jump into that. What happens is, according to karma, when you leave this world, you depart and you go to what's called the holdover place. And the holdover place is a reflection. It's where you reflect back upon your past lives and you make a decision to come back and to make those corrections. Now, the only way you can come back and make those corrections is you have to take on human form, because you, in the holdover place, you are void of emotions and feelings. You are simply reflecting. So we come back and we choose to come in this body, in this family, in this place, because it gives us the greatest opportunity to work through our karma and remove those impressions and develop, you know, the punja that we hope to develop.
That's a marvelous description, really, and it sounds kind of exciting, really, when I think about it. I mean, I haven't personally had any kind of memory experience of reincarnation, so I can't say whether it's something that I believe in or not. I know that a lot of people do believe it. I know that a lot of people have had at least the memory experience of having lived a previous life. And there's more than enough documented evidence to support this idea. But I'm just saying, for myself personally, I can't relate to it directly. Nevertheless, on a kind of a higher consciousness level, it makes a great deal of sense to me. It makes sense, you know, for the idea that, all right, I've had this set of experiences on this level of consciousness, and I accomplished this, and now I'm in the holdover place, and I get to reflect on all of that. And I can see that had I made this decision instead, something better might have happened, something more positive, something more empowering might have happened for the world if I had done that. So maybe I'd like to go back and try that. That really sounds like a beautiful opportunity, and I don't hear any judgment in it at all. It sounds just like, oh, reflection. Get to see, oh yeah, that's right, I did do that, and look what happened. Yeah, it sounds great.
Well, if you look at the laws of thermodynamics, simply state that energy is never lost, it simply changes form. And we are nothing but a bundle of energy. That is what we are, that has taken on human form. So that is the basis of karma, is that, you know, the energy isn't lost, it just goes to the holdover place, and then it makes a decision to come back. But when it comes back, it has to be willing to take on all that it means to be a human. And that is really difficult. It's not easy to come back and deal with all the emotions and all the feelings and all the things that it means to be a human. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you, in your life, you will be drawn to certain things. Certain things will be easy, certain things will be difficult. These are all part of your karma, past lives and things that you bring back to this earth. And according to karma, we come back and we choose our mother and father, we choose our body, which I like to tell people, love this body that you're in. You chose it. Take care of it. This is
Yeah,
this is your
exactly.
vehicle for your soul.
Right. Yeah. This is really great stuff. I just want to acknowledge Renee posted a question here. She says, can one person doing kind and loving things with others correct/balance his or her karma for the absolute opposite unkind and unloving way he or she treats even just one other person? Isn't there a holistic accountability to true goodness? It's a great question. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's, again, we go back to good and bad.
Sure.
And judgment. Karma says, do not judge somebody. Let's say, there are 4 great passions that we all have according to karma. And one of them is anger, for example. That is one of the 4 great passions that all human beings, we all experience anger, some more than others, depending upon your karma. But if someone is angry, they're an angry person, but we jump in and judge them. And if someone is going down that road, that's their karmic work. It's not about you to judge or to point the finger at what someone else is doing. You're here to do your own work. So if your own work is to, and you're really working hard and being kind and caring to other people, and you come and you get hit back with, say, somebody who's really angry and negative, observe where they're coming from, because that's their karma. And what we do is we oftentimes let that come in, and that impression hits us, and then we're angry. We're right in it with them, rather than being able to stand back. That's why it is so difficult. It is so difficult to take that moment. And that's why, if I wrap it into yoga, when we practice karma yoga, in my class, for example, we really work on balance, because life is about getting thrown off balance. There's no way. You cannot have perfect balance. That means no movement. Life is moving, and we will constantly be pushed off balance, no matter how good we're trying to live our life. The question is, can you recap and come back and get as close to that balance place without letting all the emotions and everything just throw you all over the place? Because once you're thrown out here, you've lost your balance.
That's beautiful. I like that. All right, but I'm not going to let you off this hook. You mentioned 4 passions and only told us 1. What are the other 3?
They are deceit, greed, anger, and pride. And those are the 4. Greed, anger, and pride. Okay. Those are the 4 great passions from which all passions and emotions come from. Wow. And we are here. Our challenge is to overcome those 4 different great passions. Now, in my book, my karma book, you can look up your birth date, and your birth date will take you to whichever one of those 4 is more prominent in your life, because one of those 4 is more prominent than the others.
I know which one that is.
Yeah. Well, you may not. I looked at mine, and when mine came through, a lot of people are surprised, because you might think, well, let's take deceit, for example. I'm not a liar. I'm not a deceitful person. Well, we deceive ourselves all the time. We beat ourselves up. Deceit is not simply just lying. Deceit has a big spectrum. So it may be that you're working on deceit, but it's not that you're a liar and a deceptive person, but it has many different variations to it.
Right. Well, I was going to say, for me, I would say anger was the one, because I went through a big part of my life where I really had a lot of anger. But now that you mentioned deceit, I'm just going to say it. I realized that part of my anger had to do with the fact that I spent the early part of my life trying to live it according to what everybody else wanted. So I was lying to myself about who I was, in a sense. Mm-hmm. I can see that part now. I hadn't thought of it that way before. And that was actually what led me into the angry place, because and it was the anger that woke me up and said, I've got to do something about this. So that's interesting. So I got to look. I should get a copy of your book and start reading it for myself, and encourage everybody else on this show to grab a copy of that. If you, what's that?
It's general, you know, because you have to create something general, but it works somewhat like it has a little bit, it has an astrology connection to it, but it is not your astrological sign.
Right.
So but it gives you your correction sign. And then when you look it up, one of the 4 great passions is prominent in your life, and you will see traces of that. And it's a very good lesson to learn.
Right. So somebody posing as Dr. Lynn Anderson just said, my late mother was a rageaholic. I never yell, but attract others who yell at me. What to do?
That's your karma. You know, it's like we keep running up against these things, and this is your karma. This is what you work on. Now, and you've got to work on forgiveness. You have to work on kindness. Those are things. So you're constantly being challenged with that. Karma doesn't mean that you get up one day and I'm going to be kind to everybody and my life's going to be wonderful. Right. Karma will constantly challenge you. Yep. So your challenge is continually working on that kindness. And the more kind you are, and the more you deflect that, rather than getting into it or absorbing it, letting it make an impression, the easier your life gets, because that stuff just kind of fades away. You know, I sometimes teach my students. I spent some time in India, and I was with my guru in India, and I asked him a question. I was, you know, at the time I said, you know, I have these people in my life that are just toxic, and I'm a very kind and caring person, and I just feel really bad cutting them out of my life. You know, I feel bad because I know they're struggling. I know what they're going through. And he put his little finger up and he said, if you have poison at the tip of your finger, if you don't cut it off, it's going to spread throughout your whole body. So cut the toxicity off and move on. And I did that. And it was a wonderful feeling. And I blessed every one of the people I cut off. I wished them wonderful things in their life, because you should never wish bad things on people. I wished them good things, but I had to move on.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, wishing anything on another person is effectively wishing it upon yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. So, you know, you got to be careful what you wish for. That's part of the reason that we're taught that, you know.
I also, I'm an herbalist and an aromatherapist, and I've also studied some Wicca. And Wicca is not witchcraft. It's about, you know, being able to use the natural elements for good. That's what it's for. But in Wicca, it's believed that if you wish something bad on someone, it'll come back to you 5 times over.
Right.
You know, and I always remember, you know, don't even your enemies, don't, you know, just bless them and wish them.
Exactly.
Yeah, because an angry person, you've got to have some compassion for an angry person. I would not want to go through life as an angry person.
Right.
And we've all experienced anger, and when we experience it, it takes over your body and your mind and your soul. So, you know, I feel my heart goes out to someone who is angry, someone who's deceitful, you know, that it goes out to them. And that's building good karma, rather than me turning around and saying, oh my God, I can't stand that person. That person is an angry person. I cannot stand that person. I hope that, you know, and I wish them something bad.
Right.
Who am I now? You know, I'm an angry person.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it's a beautiful thing to be aware of that. Well, you know, and this brings back this concept of getting even, finding righteousness, finding justice. That's really not for us to do. You know, let justice take care of itself, sort of thing. And justice is a kind of it's a man-made thing anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no such thing as justice. There's no such thing as justice. We'll use the most recent horrible thing that happened with the parade, you know, and the guy driving into the parade. Where is there justice in these people going for the Christmas parade, wonderful people dancing? Where is there justice in what happened to them? That is why we have laws.
Mm-hmm.
That is because there is no justice in the world. A plane goes down, everybody dies but one person. Where's the justice in that?
Mm-hmm.
So we have, and in our society, we have ethics and morals, we have laws. Karma has laws as well. It's the laws. Yeah.
Right. We call it the consequence of law, I guess. When you violate this law, you are going to have to deal with this consequence over here. And
Exactly.
yeah, and even though what happened at Waukesha was a horrible thing and not something I would wish on anybody, and I noticed that I had a lot of anger coming up about the perpetrator, but I thought this anger isn't going to help anything. All I'm doing is I'm contributing to the same energy that he brought to that parade. What needs to happen is we need to find love. We need to find forgiveness. Now he's going to have to deal with whatever consequences he has to deal with, but we can still do it from a place of love if we choose to. And that requires more of us raising our level of consciousness.
Well, for him, I mean, it's simply cause and effect, you know? I mean, the effect is he's going to be in prison or whatever they choose, however that works out, but there's a cause and an effect. There's no justice.
Right.
You can't bring back those people. You can't bring justice to the families. There is a law, there's cause and effect, simply. And it's very easy to cast moral judgment on this person without understanding or going deeper. I believe that the problem always goes back. The cause, to me, is mental health. And not that I'm condoning what he did, but if someone is in such a bad mental state, who are we to judge? And maybe this person, it's all they can do. This is the best they can do this time on earth. And again, we go back to, you just have to practice forgiveness.
Right.
Work your own karma.
So I had a few more comments come through. Again, a couple of them using your name. The first one, she says, or he, I don't know, I'm always kind, not angry with my mother, but many take kindness for weakness, and they yell at me or take advantage of me. Yes, I cut my parents out, and now my brother and sister-in-law. My religion, Judaism, teaches to never wish evil on anyone, but as you said, bless them and cut them off. So that's a kind of a revert. And then I think this the same person says afterwards, revenge is mine, saith the Lord. Then we're off the hook to go about our life, and God will handle the rest. And she says karma in question marks. Yeah, I think, and I'm going to come back to Renee's comment here in just a second. But yeah, so there's some interesting stuff there about allowing nature, allowing supreme consciousness to really run the universe, and we're just here to have our personal individual human experiences, temporary though they might be.
That is correct. We are here for whatever time we are here. Once we've completed our mission, and that doesn't mean that you've corrected your karma or you'll do it in this time. You may load more karma on, but once whatever the mission is, the reason you're here, then you'll go back, they say again, to the holdover place. And, it takes a soul many lifetimes to become pure,
Sure.
And, I've been studying this for a long time, and I'm very humbled at how easily I can fall off that cliff and fall into the emotions. And, it's very easy as a human being to do that.
Right. So Renee says, I love that question, and I'm unfortunately now at this moment, I'm not sure which question she's referring to, but anyway, she carries on and says, people always say you attract what you are, and I just can't see that. I am not deceitful or unkind. I practice unity, harmony, inclusiveness, do unto others, and so forth. I've even tried to think mean like others, and I can't do it. I can't do them as they do me. Doesn't matter what I practice in my life. I consistently attract the most deceitful, manipulative, soulless people. What is that?
That's
Well,
that's your karma, and it's karma is work. Anybody who thinks it's easy, it's not easy. So you will continually be confronted and asked to do your work. And the more you do your work, the purer your karma becomes and the easier your life comes. So that keeps coming at you because you have to continue to work at that. So it's not like, well, if I'm really kind, all I'm going to do is draw kind people into my life. That's not life. Life is not like that. Life is constantly changing, and we are constantly being confronted. And we may work through one piece and another may come.
mm-hmm.
So it's being able to observe and step back and see these people for what they are. And again, go back, there's lots of ways to cut off that toxic energy.
Sure.
And you can, and there's lots of ways to be able to do that. And sometimes you have to completely remove people from your life. They're just, because they're not evolved. And that doesn't mean they're bad. It's just there are a lot of people walking around that have a clue what's going on. You see them all the time. I was in the store the other day, and this husband and wife were like really bickering and fighting loudly in the store, totally unaware, of what they were doing, of what energy they were creating,
Mm-hmm.
And so you realize that not everybody is walking down this road.
They're walking down a road. This is really, really interesting. I think I like to think of it this way. I'm moving down a pathway or a river, if you like, and every once in a while there's another river that kind of comes in and meets with me, and I meet up with somebody in my life. Now that person might really piss me off, or that person might trigger feelings of happiness within me, whatever. But whatever it is, we're there together for a while. And why is that person in my life? Well, that person is in my life because on some level, I attracted him or her into my life. And I attracted him or her for a reason. Now, what is the reason? Well, if I can stop being pissed off or stop, having any of the judgments I have, then I can look at it and I say, oh, this person is here to help me remember about this aspect of myself. Now, I might not see it until after the person has left. Mm-hmm. And very often for a lot of us, I think that's what happens. We go through life, we have these experiences. Maybe in the moment they're very unpleasant. We don't like them that much. And it's not until later when we can look back on it from that place of dispassion, if you like, the lack of emotion. I can look back and say, wow, yeah, I learned a lot from that. I gained a lot from that. I'm so grateful that person showed up. I'm sorry that I was so angry at you before, but now I get it. So this is all part of our process. And I think that, we're going to have a relationship with somebody for as long as we need to have the relationship. And then the relationship will come to an end. It may not come to an end until after we have left this physical body. But somewhere along the way, that relationship will come to an end. Right. Enjoy it while it's here.
You're right. Well, the teacher always shows up when you need the lesson. Teacher always shows up. And the teacher.
That's a funny thing. The student always shows up too.
It comes in very different forms,
Right.
I mean, and we can learn from other people. You can learn from someone who's very angry. Wow. That's what anger looks like. If you step back and you look at it, oh boy, I don't want to be an angry person. I'm going to work on that. But the person is there to teach you. Everybody comes into our lives for a reason. And the reason is we are to work your karma. It is called, again, work. We are here to work our karma. And it depends upon how you deal with all of this stuff, how the cause and effect of karma comes out.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, it's beautiful. And of course, we all have the capability, whether we want to admit it or not, we all have the capability to acknowledge something, accept it for what it is, and then to make a change in direction. We have the power of change within us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, no, I am the way I am, and that's the way it is, you know? And I say, no, that's not really true. You are who you are, that's true. But right now, you're only expressing a tiny little sliver of who you really are. You're actually a much more amazing and magnificent being than that. So, you know, if you don't like this one little sliver, then choose another one.
Well, you know, in karma, there are things that block your karma. And one of the things that blocks people from working their karma is called free will. Exactly what you're talking about. It's choice. We have choices. We can make those decisions. We can choose to do differently or to change something, but it takes conscious awareness of it. If you're not aware of yourself as an angry person and you think the world is just a bad place and you're angry all the time and you're not even conscious of that, then you can't change. Can't change that person. That person can't change themselves. It's coming back and realizing that the world isn't imposing all this stuff on me. I have the free will, I have the choice to remove people, remove situations, to go down a road, to work on myself. We have those. And so when we block that, we block our ability to work our karma.
Yeah, that's very, very good point. And I like the way you said it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. People maybe don't quite get this, that if you are locked into a certain way of thinking and you're not really aware of it, then of course your world is going to show up that way, because your world's going to show up according to the filters and the perceptions and you know, the belief systems and everything else that you have accumulated up to that point. And it's not going to change until you become aware of the fact that you are the one imposing on the world and not the other way around. You know, the universe is completely neutral. It's not here to hurt you or to make life just completely perfect for you. That is about you choosing your path through the universe. And you have that freedom. Isn't that amazing? We all have that ability.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just, you know, we're here. It's just, it's a neutral type of place. You know, here's an example of something. You know, we think of, if I say a buzzard, a vulture, everybody goes, you know, vultures aren't very beautiful, right? You wouldn't think of a vulture as being very beautiful.
Oh, the bird. Okay.
The bird. Okay. But a vulture cleans up the debris. And by cleaning up the debris, it cleans up the environment, and it allows that, it removes all the decay and the disease. That's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
So it's a matter of how you look at things. We tend to judge things, especially in the material world. We judge things on face value, how they look. Oh, she's pretty, she's not pretty. He's handsome, he's not handsome. We judge things on how we look at the world, you know, through our human eyes. And yet, if you step back and you look back, take a couple steps back, you can always find beauty in everything. There is an element of beauty in everything. You just have to look for it. But it's real easy to find the ugliness. That's real easy. That's a lot easier.
Well, it's interesting that, you know, what you're talking about. We have an ego mind, which is designed to help us navigate our way through this physical world. And the ego mind is predisposed to find negative things, because negative things are the things that hurt us, that cause danger, that cause us to, you know, to suffer. At least that's the way the ego mind works. So consequently, the ego mind isn't looking for good things. It's always on the alert for bad things, things that are risky, dangerous, that are going to hurt you. In truth, however, as we get older and we become more capable of dealing with most of the events that happen in our lives, the things that the ego mind starts to bring to our attention are not really dangerous at all. They're simply reflections of something that happened way back in the past that maybe was perceived as dangerous back then, and which it's still perceiving as dangerous today. And this is the interesting thing about the ego mind. If you can understand what the ego mind's really doing, and if you can learn to just love your ego mind for what it does, and say, thank you so much for all of your, you know, warnings and stuff. I'm an adult now. I know how to handle this, and I got it. However, if there is a bus bearing down on me, yeah, I want you to tell me and make me jump like crazy out of the way. Absolutely. If there's a real danger, I want to know about. So this is a part of the thing that you're talking about. It's that level of awareness, and awareness comes with experience. The more experience we have in life, the easier it is to become aware. And again, I can still choose to live in that place of, no, the world is a horrible, horrible place. I am just going to be angry about it. And I can choose that if I want. And I'll probably die young and unhappy and alone and, all the rest of it. Yeah.
That's neither good nor bad. If you make that choice, it's cause and effect. So if you make that choice, the effect is you're probably going to have somewhat of a miserable life, but that's not good or bad. It's simply cause and effect.
Right.
The ego's sole purpose is preservation. That's what the ego is about. It's preservation. And what happens is, according to karma, the soul will never usurp the ego. It's not about usurping the ego. It's about its evolution. And so if the ego gets going and it wants to lead and it overpowers, the soul's just going to watch it unfold.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
the soul is the dispassionate observer, if you like. But at the same time, the soul is also the keeper of the vision about what I'm really here for. So if I want to know what to do next, I shouldn't be listening to my ego. I should be listening to my soul. And that means practicing the process of quieting the ego mind so that the soul's voice can become more audible. And that's really what meditation is all about.
In my yoga class, I always end the yoga class with a surrender of the ego to the soul. And we have a lesson, and it's something that it leads to the ego, and it's about bringing the ego in and not removing the ego. Never remove it. It is about self. We need that ego. That's self-preservation. Like you said, there's a bus coming at you. That ego better say, "I want to live."
Exactly.
That. But it's surrendering it down so it becomes, so that we're really coming back and listening to the soul. Because remember, the soul goes to the holdover place. The soul doesn't have any emotions. It doesn't have any feelings. It doesn't have any drives. It is not human. Those are all human form. The soul is energy. And in order to experience all of this, it's got to come back as a human. That's how you experience all of these things. So it takes on the ego and it comes back and it takes on all the feelings and emotions. But we come into this world and we're so programmed that we forget, or a lot of people don't even believe, that there is another form of energy behind this body and this mind. There is a soul. Naturopaths, for example, we believe that you have to have perfect balance in body, mind, and soul to have perfect health. So when we approach working with somebody, we work with them on the physical, the mental, and the soulful aspect of how to integrate and bring all three together, because you are all three. You can't separate.
Right. I teach a lot about the same stuff, and I include the heart as a separate element, because I think of the heart as being the seat of emotion and the seat of connection, and the mind as being more the thought processes and the thinking and so forth, and the body as being the doing aspect, and the soul as being the visionary that sees the truth of what my life is really all about. So for me, a holistic human consists of heart, body, mind, and soul. And that's why I separate them out, because I think they have, there's a lot of different aspects that you can look at, and many different models, I'm sure. But one way or another, I think we all agree on the three, the body, mind, and soul. And very, very important stuff. And if we ignore our soul, we do so at our own peril, really. We lose out on the opportunity to have a fulfilled life if we choose not to engage our soul more fully.
Well, we are all driven by, hormones. We are all driven by the biochemistry of our body. That is very important. That's where nutrition kind of comes
Sure.
in.
Absolutely. Yep.
Is that, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of chemical things going on in your body all the time. And your body
Right.
is, the body to me is like the most miraculous thing. I mean, it's just operating and it goes and we don't even think in my hands are
That's
moving.
right. Yeah.
You know, it's a miraculous thing. It is the vehicle for the soul. And if you're not going to take care of your vehicle, whoa, you're in trouble. So it's very important that we also honor this body that we're in. You know, I hear people all the time, you know, I've had students come up to me and, you know, their arms are flabby or their stomach's flabby or they don't feel good about themselves. And I will look at them sometimes and I'll say, you know, I see a beautiful smile. I see beautiful hair. I see a beautiful person. That's what I see. You know, we're so into sometimes bashing ourselves that we forget to step back and say, this beautiful body, as imperfect as it is nobody has a perfect body. You know, it's a wonderful vehicle. Take care of it, honor it, and love it because it's housing your soul.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a beautiful thing. And you know, you mentioned that the body kind of just runs; it does its thing. And you remind me of I don't know if you've read any books by David Hawkins. David R. Hawkins, I believe his name is. He's a doctor and a consciousness expert who's written many books on consciousness. And he says basically the same thing. The same thing that you and I have been talking about, where we are really spiritual beings having a physical experience, and that physical body will operate on its own. You don't really have to pay much attention to it. I mean, yes, taking good care of it, it's like anything else. Of course, you want to do that, but it will operate on its own. And so you can focus your attention on elevating your consciousness and raising your level of awareness and doing things to clean up your karma, or whatever phrase you want to put on it. All of this is about spiritual expansion and growth. That's what it's really all about. And I think even though many people believe, and I think you've said this yourself, that karma is a kind of a cyclical process that involves many, many lifetimes, I still believe it's possible, maybe not likely, but possible, that someone can go through a huge karmic shift in one lifetime. And it may be all you need. Maybe that's all a single person needs in order to have the full experience of being a human. But some people may want to go through it multiple times. I don't know the answer here. So.
Well, they would put Buddha and Jesus and Gandhi in that league, you know. Yeah. And you know, I've been studying this for a long time. I'm telling you, I'm coming back many times more. I still have a lot more work to do, you know. Right. And so, but you are right. There may be some quantum leap that you take in this lifetime that puts you on a higher level, and then you might come back in a higher place. Like a good example of that would be that, let's say you come into this lifetime and you have a natural ability to draw just artistic, and you're very successful artistically. Karma would say you developed that in a prior lifetime. And so you were able to bring that back with you and enhance upon that. So we enhance upon things that we do. We also have to pay for what we do. You know,
okay, now that's a new topic. Say more about that. What do you mean we have to pay for what we do? Well, I mean, I think I know, but I'd like to hear you explain that.
We'll go back. I mean, if you're a thief or you're a murderer or you're any of those kinds of things, you may have to come back and experience the other end of that. That would be payment. Say you're a very abusive person and you're physically abusive to those around you. You may experience that in your next lifetime. You may be the person who is abused.
Is it possible? It could be the other way around too. Maybe you were the abused before, and now you get to experience the opposite. So I don't know.
Yeah, and you could come back and you could be the abuser, or you can reflect upon this. And you know, I don't think anybody would say that an abuser is a good person. I mean, you know, it's that to abuse. I mean, karma. The first thing of karma of yoga is do no harm. Okay, so the minute you do harm, there's a problem. But if you have been abused, and most people in this world have, even if it wasn't physical, they've had verbal abuse. Most people have experienced some kind of abuse. We
Right.
know what it feels like. Do you want to inject that on someone else? Or do you want to
I
come
understand what you mean. Yes.
back and try to, be a kinder person, And that's all, it's all in how you look at things,
Right. And that's a very, very important point. It's how you look at things. Like, for example, I know that there are belief systems out there that say that spare the rod and spoil the child kind of thing. In other words, a child that does wrong needs to be punished. So that we get this idea of punishment coming into our awareness. And what does punishment really do, except it's just a form of abuse, you know? And some people say, no, it's just consequences for the actions that they've taken. I said, no, when an adult person, uses a whip or some other kind of tool to inflict pain on a physical body that is much smaller than them, that's not consequences. That is abuse, And so I was just saying some people believe that's the way to raise your children.
But then we have to come into ethics and morals. And I've written an educational course called The Karma of Ethics. And it is not our place to judge different cultures or how different cultures live. And we are very big at doing that as human beings. We point at other cultures and we say, oh, that's wrong what they're doing. It's not wrong in their culture. It's not wrong in their belief system. It's not wrong for where they are coming from. And it is not our place to place judgment on that. I may say, and I agree with you, I don't think anybody should whip anybody or hurt anybody. That is one thing I think that's supposedly the universal law is do no harm. But in some countries, if you steal something, they cut your hand off. That is the law. That is what they do. Now, we find that barbaric. As Americans, we find that totally barbaric. Yet, it is not our place to impose upon other cultures our belief system. You are here to work your karma, not to correct anybody else, not to pass judgment, but you're here to work your karma. And just if everybody worked their karma in ways of kindness and combated the four great passions, what a wonderful world it would be.
Well, yeah, and with that, I think we're getting close to our time here. I don't want to end on a negative note, not that it's a negative note at all, but I just want to make sure that we have an uplifting closing for people. So is there something that you'd like to say about karma that you would share as a closing message? You talked about surrendering the ego to the soul. Maybe that's a way we could do it.
Yeah, it's we all know when the ego's playing in there. We all know what's happening, and it comes back, and that's why it's really good to place karma in a yoga class, because karma comes from yoga. It is a branch of yoga. It is a philosophy, and when you do the physical part of yoga, you learn to step back from those emotions and you get into the physical part of it. For example, I can talk all day about balance. We can intellectualize about what balance is about from here till the cows come home. But if I take you and I put you in a position and you physically and mentally begin to experience balance, what it's like to hold a pose, what it's like to feel balance, then it gives us that moment to step back. And that's when the soul can step up and be heard, because we've brought the body and the mind into a beautiful balanced place. Or we've taken the body and the mind into a place of strength. We've got it strong and steady. Soul
That's
can
beautiful.
come up.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So is there something in particular you would like to offer people as a gift for being on this show?
Sure. They can go to my website and you'll see there's where you can sign up for a karma class. And if you go in and you sign up, you go to Acuity, that's the scheduling system, and you go in. If you go to where it says pay, you can put in gratis, gratis, and that will allow you to have a free class with me. If that, if you don't want to go through all of that kind of stuff, you can always email me and I can send you a direct link, which will just take you to the Zoom class. I have classes on Wednesday, and I have the Karma class, which is on Saturdays. And I would love to offer everyone at least a free class. Come and see what it's all about.
Sure. And so can you just say your website again? And maybe put it right into the chat there. Can you do that?
Let's see if I can get into the chat here.
It's on the left side.
Is it the plus?
Oh, no. So if you look at the top on the left, it'll say messages. Do you see that?
I don't.
All right. Never mind. I will put it in. Tell me what the domain is.
DOCTOR.
Hang on. I got to get my. There we go. DOCTORLYNN.
It's DOCTORLYNN. It's one word. It's spelled out drlynn.com.
Okay.
And my email is just info@drlynn.com.
Okay, I just put the link into the chat there. I don't know if you can see it, but now people can actually click on that directly and they can go to it. And I will capture the other information and I'll create a special place for you on my website so people can get to it from there.
Wonderful.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been just a real pleasure to share this space with you. It was fun. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, David. We seem to converse very well. Good karma between us.
Yeah, there you go. And I think there might be some opportunities to do something more in the future, but for now, we're going to have to come to a close today. And so I want to thank all of you for watching today's presentation and for being here on the live show. I also want to remind folks that you can watch the recording of this and every other episode on my website at lifemasterytv.com. That's life-mastery-tv.com. I truly hope you enjoyed this presentation as much as I did. And in a few hours, you're going to receive an email from the Learn It Live platform asking you to fill out a survey. Please fill that out. Just take a couple of minutes to write something on there so that we know that we're getting the message across and other people will find that. And finally, I'd like to remind you to practice the life mastery mantra. It goes like this. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So until we meet again, thank you again for joining me on Life Mastery TV. Thank you, Lynn, for being here. See you all next time. Love and light on your continuing journeys. Bye-bye for now.